Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is one of my favorite people, a returning guest to the show. He is the State Tourism Director for Commerce, Rhode Island. He is Mark Brodeur. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you, Sean. It's wonderful to be back.
Now, we're going to talk about Rhode Island. We're going to talk about tourism in Rhode Island. Commerce Rhode Island, or Commerce RI, is that a sort of a new name?
Yes, it is. We changed our name just about 6 months ago. And it's new branding for Rhode Island in our new effort to draw business to Rhode Island. And the tourism division is under that department.
One thing I want to ask you right off the bat, because we were talking about this off the air before we came on the show, is exciting times are on the way in Rhode Island for you because there's a new governor. You seem very excited about it. You seem excited about the potential for some change, some much needed change, and some things going in the right direction. So talk about that a little bit.
We're really excited, and it seems as if our legislature as well as the new governor are very interested in investing in tourism for Rhode Island. We know it's one of the largest employment opportunities for Rhode Islanders, and we have about 46,000 employees that service our traveler as they come into Rhode Island. So we're hoping that we're going to have an increased budget in order to get the word out to all of our Connecticut friends and people throughout the Northeast and around the world. New England is absolutely a big international destination.
Why is tourism important for Rhode Island?
Well, there's a lot of things. One, tourists come in, they spend money, and they leave. So it's a lot
right.
of new dollars.
Thanks for your money, get out? Is
yeah,
that what you're saying?
That's not what we feel on the hospitality end of things. But when it
Right.
comes to true economic development, we see tourism is about 2.7% of the economy, but it's 9% of all state, local, and federal taxes. Wow. So it's a huge consumer for the industry. You know, we talk about economic development in general, and we typically talk about land, labor, and capital. But tourism is the other end of it. Ask any business, how would you increase jobs? What would work for you to increase jobs? And business would do it. So bringing these consumers in to buy and spend is another way of creating jobs. We know that 213 visitors to the state of Rhode Island spend enough money to actually support a job for a year. So that's why it's so important that we bring tourists into the state and spending that new money.
You mentioned budget. Always an issue, always a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine that we are, kind of out of the recession that we were in for a little while. Obviously, that's a good thing. Is it helpful for the tourism aspect of Rhode Island? I'm sure it is. That means people can spend money, and maybe you can get a little more funding out of it, too.
Well, budget is always a challenge for any municipality or government, state government. There's so many challenges and so much to cover. We have had the smallest budget in the country for some time, and it's time to invest. And I do think our new administration gets the investment opportunity, and where we'll be able to generate more revenue going forward.
It's interesting that you say the smallest budget because you actually had an advantage over our neighbors in Connecticut, because at one point they sort of yanked the whole thing for a brief period of time, right?
Right. We didn't have several years. That was real unfortunate. But even at that point, it was still a small budget, not enough to really change
Not
the
enough
day.
for you to go to Connecticut.
Luckily, we have a fantastic destination.
Right.
And a lot of it sells itself. But you know how it works today with messaging, unless we're in front of the consumer, you're out of mind. So we really need to get the messaging out there.
I would imagine social media plays a huge role in getting the word out there, so to speak, because it's so integral to everything these
Right.
days.
So certainly people want to learn from people like them, friends, relatives, people that have the same social values. And that's what social media is about, and it works for us. It's that conversation online that we help to spark. And that certainly has been successful for us, but it's not that alone. I mean, it's one tactic that really really generates conversation.
It is great to be somewhere and take a picture and then post it and then get all those comments. I mean, it's like there's no better word of mouth advertising than that, right?
Well, you've got it entirely. I mean, images tend to spark the most engagement in social media.
There's a lot. Let me ask you a question about, since we happen to be taping this during a miserable time of the winter, tourism, winter versus summer. The seasons is a good thing. It's something that New England can tout, but at the same time, it presents challenges too when you have a jillion feet of snow to deal with, right?
Right. So certainly, this is not a great time for the leisure consumer coming in. Fortunately, a lot of our travelers that are visiting this time of year are conventioneers, and if they're able to get in, they do. So we still see that type of travel. This year, most of the snow has been midweek, which is kind of helpful for that leisure travel that's interested in traveling on the weekend. but it really is a challenge. The fun thing is there are wonderful indoor things to do year-round in Rhode Island, and we're happy about that. That New England flavor, people enjoy the snow. Gronk just came down and did Yagu Valley on.
He'll go any place anybody will invite
He's
him.
just
You know.
fun. He just showed up. It was a wonderful time for everybody. So there's a lot of fun things to do. Those wonderful country inns with fireplaces roaring. It's all part of the flavor of New England.
Well, that's something that's positive about the winter months here, which never seems to end. There's also a sort of a symbiotic relation with some of your neighbors too, like Connecticut. For example, down where we are, I mean, they're literally, the Chamber of Commerce for Westerly basically is Westerly Pawcatuck. So it kind of overlaps states because the community is so intertwined between the two towns, which are actually in two different states.
Right. Well, consumers don't see state lines or town lines. So we're happy when we have partners such as the Westerly Pawcatuck Chamber of Commerce, and as they do their promotion and development of programming in that area. The whole Westerly area certainly has seen tremendous change.
Right. Well, I want to talk about that a little bit because there really needed to be sort of a rebirthing after Sandy, right? A genesis, a rebuilding.
Right, and we've had a lot of investment from the federal government in rebuilding Mesquamacut Beach. So we're happy to say it's in beautiful shape. We're ready for this season. But also with the private investment down there, the Ocean House and the Weekapaug Inn, these inns that were built over 100 years ago, $140 million investment. This time of year, you can go and enjoy the ice skating rink in Westerly as well. And there's some good restaurants, Ella's and several others that have come in to the area. It really is a Mayberry. Chuck Royce, who has invested a lot of money in these wonderful inns, really has a picture for his businesses down there. And we've been able to enjoy a high-end consumer, but it's also a great place for all of us to go.
I want to just kind of bounce around the state from here to there. One of the places we went on the road to shoot in Newport. Talk about Newport a little bit.
Well, Newport's they're gearing up to the Volvo Ocean Race. We're the only destination in North America this year. For the race will actually be landing here on May 5th and be here till the 17th. So it's very similar to, it's one of the top 4 sailing events in the world, and it's getting a lot of attention. The entire state is just selling out for that event. It's something that would be well worth the commute in to see, the 5th of May through the 17th. But certainly another attention that's been drawn to the mansions has been the Downton Abbey lifestyle. One of the grandmother in the Downton Abbey storyline is from Newport in the storyline. We've seen a 20% increase in traffic to the mansions due to that particular story.
No kidding.
It's just that interest in the Gilded Age has come back, and those mansions are wonderful. We also, the Audrey has opened. It's been an investment by a private person who's come in, and they have 130 antique cars. Wow. They put $18 million into the building on Bellevue Avenue, and these cars, some of them are $1 million automobiles. Wow. And it's really worth coming to see. So it's a new attraction there. And then, of course, history. We had 20% of the nation's historic landmarks for Rhode Island. The wonderful Fort Adams is great for families. You can get a flashlight and go through the tunnels that were made for the soldiers to go in and make sure there's no infiltration. Kind of a fun thing to do. So that's not just the mansions, but definitely recreation as well. There's so many ways to enjoy the ocean and the bay in Rhode Island.
And since you mentioned, the historic aspect of it, there's a great emphasis to restore what needs to be restored. It's just not like things are just getting let go. They really are trying hard, and we saw that at one place in Newport where we did a show. Anything that needs to be restored, it's at least on the books, planned, and they're working hard to make sure as much as possible can be saved forever, if possible.
Well, that's great. Beginning in 1963, and then again the investment in '68 with Doris Duke when she purchased 80 houses and had them completely restored. There's been a huge restoration project. Rhode Island is the example in the world many times for restoration and preservation, and that's our key. I mean, we have more colonial homes than anywhere else in the country. And again, it's that pride in the restoration and not erasing what was here before, but just making it as it was and better in some cases for posterity.
You mentioned mansions. I want to bring you back to Watch Hill because surely you are able to take advantage. Do you know where I'm going with this?
I do know where you're going with this.
Surely you must be able to take advantage of having a very famous person live there in her own mansion, Taylor Swift. Talk about that.
Well, she's very private.
Did you know that's what I was going to say?
Yeah,
okay.
I did know you were going to.
She is private, including her security will let you know she's private.
I know. I bring writers around the state all the time as part of the promotion, and we'll have dessert overlooking her mansion at the Ocean
Oh,
House. It's like,
well, yeah.
well, sad to say, but actually, she's wonderful. I mean, we just hear what happens. She brings many times children that are handicapped or into her house. She'll do free concerts there, and she goes off to the hospitals on her own. She lives very low profile. You can see that traffic has increased tremendously year round
Yeah.
as people drive by the house itself, which
Yeah.
is gorgeous. But from all signs, as far as neighborhoods go, she's a great neighbor, and she's a real wonderful person.
Was there one issue where like there was a public path that was sort of cutting close or through her property
no,
or
that's
something?
still open to the public.
Okay.
There is a public right of way that goes down to the beach that's there, and she's had work done to help secure her
Right.
in privacy. There's a lot of interest in this girl.
You're
She's
right,
a little more
take-
than famous.
You're definitely you can understand her dilemma the way
Right.
that you're describing it.
But
too,
her
you know?
home is very visible from
Yeah.
the road there. It's a beautiful neighborhood. Unlike the gilded mansions in Newport, their shingle style, the architectural style is wonderful, and there's great preservation there as well.
My favorite place to go in the summer, and I try to go every year, and it's overlooked a little bit because it's just not attached to the rest of the state of Rhode Island, but it is Block Island. And it's one of my favorite places, even from Connecticut. You can take the ferry or in Rhode Island. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, Block Island, there are no chains there. These beautiful Victorians. One of the favorite things I talk to the writers about is dining on the porch. And you have those gorgeous Victorian porches overlooking those vistas. But there's a fun thing that's new to Block Island. They have a bike trail that you can use your smartphone and actually a QR code.
Oh.
And it actually brings you through the many historic areas throughout the island. And that's a fun way to really see the island. They can look that up on our website, visitrhodeisland.com. Which really, there are 1,100 pages of things to do in Rhode Island and 1,400 events. But certainly the Block Island Tourism Council has worked with private partners to put this trail together. It's excellent.
As soon as you get off the ferry, you have the option of renting a bicycle, which a lot of people do. You can get a moped or even a Jeep.
but
or-
yeah.
Yeah.
You can do wakeboarding and certainly kayaking, canoeing. It's funny to say kayaking, canoeing. Narragansett Bay, which is really the focal point and center of our state, was named in 2012 by National Geographic. It's one of the top 12 adventure destinations in the world.
Wow.
So that was really kind of nice when the gold standard gives you such a designation. But it's the blue trails for kayaking and canoeing throughout the bay. There are more than 39 estuaries in that area. So there's natural beauty, wonderful sea life, kind of a fun way of seeing that. There's a place called the Biomes, and it's North Kingstown. There are 138 species of life that exists in the bay. They can go in and actually see in the tanks. They have and actually pet sharks, things of that nature.
Now the bay, was that where? Now every once in a while, you do your best to try to work with industry and also conservationists as much as possible. Was that where there was talk about maybe some windmills or?
Right. That's actually going to happen off of the coast
Okay.
of Rhode Island,
So it's
about
a
8
little
miles off.
further out.
Right. It will not be in the bay.
Okay, so no concern there.
No concern there.
Let's go. We'll take a break, but let's go to one more city, a big city. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called Providence. A lot of redevelopment is done there. It's a fresh, exciting, big city for Rhode Island, and there's so much to do there.
Right. So we love, it's the old and the new, the Blendistry said. The culinary there is amazing. There are more chefs with degrees per capita than any other city in America because of Johnson & Wales. So we have Federal Hill, where not only do we have fantastic Italian restaurants, but there's really a mixture coming into the as well. Also, we have the art trolley that happens every third Thursday, I believe. And right now, if you purchase original pieces of art in Rhode Island, there's no tax. So if you want to go and buy some beautiful art throughout Rhode Island, there are 22 galleries in Providence alone. So you have a mixture of the arts. There's wonderful theater. This time of year, it's a great time to get away. There's a new hotel called the Dean there. It was formerly a brothel, and today it's this wonderful, very inexpensive, kind of funky place. The lobby is a coffee house. They have a karaoke bar in there, kind of fun to do. So there's different ways of experiencing the city. And walking, that's the big thing. Certainly along Benefit Street, there's a mile of history. You have 300 years. In the universities, too, we have more college students in that area. There are 11 universities, and certainly many of these universities have special places. Johnson & Wales has the Culinary Museum. If you go into Brown University, they have the John Hay Library that has Lincoln memorabilia. John Hay was a social secretary for Lincoln. These collections are wonderful, and they're all open to the public. RISD, the art museum, is just magnificent. So you've got a combination of culinary, museums, natural beauty. Theater as well. So it really is a city that's a year-round place to go.
All the colleges make it a great sports town too, by the way.
Yeah, and those that want to come and see the Patriots, we're closer than Boston, and we have a direct link by rail as well. So that's one of the great things that this winter, even with the weather, we were able to benefit through 2 weeks of the playoffs that happened.
I drive to Providence and take the commuter rail right to Foxborough.
Right.
And why drive and try to fight the traffic and all the tailgaters getting out of there when you could just take the train, the commuter rail from Providence.
It's a
great.
real easy thing to do.
It's fantastic. Let's take a break and come back. Boy, we got a lot more to get to, so we will. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay right there. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest is Mark Brodeur, State Tourism Director for Commerce, Rhode Island. Who would have thought that such a small state, there would be so much to talk about, the smallest state, but so many things to do, so many things to see. And you've been doing it for a very long time, haven't you? What, 26 years?
26 years,
Wow.
yes.
There must be a great evolution from when it started to what it is today. And you've seen it all. Talk about that a
Yeah,
little
we've
bit.
actually seen a much more educated consumer. I think television teaches us a lot and brought the world to our living room, but certainly in the end of culinary. Just the Food Channel has made us much more aware of food preparation, ingredients, and consumers actually seeking that experience when they're traveling. So Rhode Island, as we had said, Providence alone has more restaurants with chefs with degrees than any other city in America per capita. So we have walking tours on Federal Hill with the chef. We have the Culinary Museum, cooking classes. So these type of experiential travel has really been the development that we've seen. We've seen the same in recreation as well. We have a much more health-minded consumer. We're eating, but we're eating healthy, and we're out there really enjoying things.
Are we eating healthy?
Well,
Are we
I'm
really?
not, but most consumers
Right,
are.
yeah.
And then in the experience, families travel just to cycle along. We have a 14.5-mile-long bike path. People just enjoy that time of vacation.
One thing that I'm going to mention that you won't admit to because you're a nice guy and you have friends in Connecticut, but you are able to steal a lot of tourists from Connecticut because number one, your beaches are nice. Musquamacut, you can just jump right over the border to Westerly and enjoy Musquamacut Beach. Would you like to comment on that?
Well, we absolutely are thrilled that we
Yes.
have some of the very finest beaches in New England. And certainly one of the fun things that Connecticut residents like to do are rent houses.
Right.
And there are thousands of rental homes available along our coast. But our beaches, we're very fortunate to have that natural wonder along the south coast in South County.
And where I am, sort of in southeastern Connecticut, it's actually an advantage for me to go to TF Green than it would be to go to Bradley Airport because TF Green, you get to the airport before you hit the city, before Providence. From where I am, to get to Bradley, you have to go through Hartford to get to the airport. So that's another thing. Maybe it's a little bit smaller too, and that's convenient too. There are a lot of little things that give Rhode Island an advantage, I got to tell you.
Well, we're excited about Green. In 2017, we'll have finished the enlargement of our airfield, and we'll be having cross-continent service. But right now, we've just welcomed a new airline, Condor Airline. Beginning in June, will be a direct flight into Germany, into Frankfurt, Germany.
So TF Green is already an international airport,
Well,
right?
this will be the first scheduled air flight. Actually, we have one to Cape Verde as well, very inexpensive. So, yes, we're going to absolutely be international.
All right. We like to continue to jump around Rhode Island. How about Warwick? That's a nice town.
Well, Warwick, of course, is where our airport is located. And because it is an airport town, there's lots of opportunity to stay. There are 17 chain hotels in that area. But Goddard Park is really an amazing asset for us. You can horseback ride along the coast, 27 miles of pathways. Horseback ride almost every day of the year. in the area. And there's a new theater, the Ocean State Theater, that has great performances happening, very inexpensive.
One of the places that we took the show on the road to this past summer was Roger Williams, the zoo, and the park in general. A huge tourist attraction.
Well, that's another attraction that's open 364 days a year.
Even in the winter. What's that one day they have the audacity to be closed?
Well, they close on Christmas Day.
All
Yeah,
right.
the animals, they're well attended, but
Yes.
it's not open to the public. Yeah, so that's a great thing for families, but the park itself, 480 acres of Victorian gardens, and they have the botanical gardens, also open this time of year and nice and warm inside, to enjoy some great natural wonder in its own.
The Blackstone Valley Corridor, big changes coming.
We're really excited about that. The National Park Service, the U.S. government is going to create a new national park there.
Wow.
So it is going to be 32 cities and towns on the Massachusetts and Rhode Island side. This will give us a well-needed investment to help sign the area. I mean, the Blackstone Valley is where the Industrial Revolution begins. The Slater Mill is there, again, a great historic asset where you can learn how industry begins, the water wheel, how the river worked. It's a great classroom for us. And we have the Museum of Work and Culture, which speaks to the Quebec Corps, the Canadians that came down and actually worked those mills. And it's really a fantastic story and well told, and the interpretation will be much better once in about 3 years, we expect this to be complete.
All the things that we've been talking about today really gives you the ability to promote staycations in Rhode Island, as opposed to people heading to TF Green and heading out of town, because there's so much to do in Rhode Island that would be less expensive. There has to be something that even Rhode Islanders themselves haven't experienced yet, because there's so much.
Well, I find that, Rhode Island is really funny. We're the smallest state, yet the bay kind of divides us. It's like, I've got to go all the way over the bridge, all the way there. Rhode Island will pack a lunch to drive an hour to the other side of the state.
Right.
So that's funny. It is a great exploration. We do encourage Rhode Islanders to get out and enjoy. And I think many times when we live within a destination, the same holds true here for Connecticut as well. We don't appreciate it. Really, the nice thing about my opportunity to see the world and to see consumers and how they enjoy the destination, again, like we said here in Connecticut, they're great assets, but it is a day trip for many people from Connecticut as well. The historic attractions, the museums, but absolutely there's a lot of unexplored places.
Even if you are not staying in Rhode Island, let's say you're heading to Cape Cod, you're passing through Rhode Island, and there's probably some things to do here before you go out to the Cape or someplace like that.
Well, that's if you're a typical traveler that comes through Providence, maybe you'd like to take a journey through Newport the next time, or vice versa. Each destination has something new and exciting to offer. And I would suggest, too, that you look at our calendar of events. We have the air show, we have the circus that comes to town, there's the chowder cook-off, there's all kinds of great events happening year-round, every weekend, and of course we didn't want to mention Waterfire as well. And 75,000 people come for each performance of Waterfire. There's 100 braziers or baskets in the rivers in Providence, and they're lit on fire. And music from around the world is selected, and it permeates throughout the streets. And in some performances, they actually do ballroom dancing in the streets.
No kidding, right?
So they have a phantom that throws flowers to the crowds, and it's very romantic and a wonderful thing to do.
The East Bay. What's going on there?
Well, certainly, most people get to know Bristol because of our oldest 4th of July celebration. We have a 4-hour parade. More than 100,000 people come to enjoy that experience. And the line throughout Bristol, right down the middle of the road, is painted red, white, and blue. But that is a whole month-long celebration. There are concerts for 3 weeks beforehand, almost every night. And the East Bay, is just as the name infers, is located right along our coastal area. And there's a rails to trails conversion. One of the railways is now a bike path. And there's a great place to stop along the way at the Audubon Environmental Education Center. Great for families. More than 400 species of birds migrate through Rhode Island every year. So for those that enjoy nature, this time of year we have the seals, we have the birding throughout the year as well, and that's a great place to see it and experience it.
You know so much about all these things that are going on in Rhode Island. Are you on the road all the time? Are you always visiting these places? How much time do you spend in the office versus out and about?
Well, the nice thing about having a small budget is you get to do everything. The sad part is
many
you
hats,
have to.
right?
Yeah, that's the thing. So I do spend a lot of time with writers, so we're always reading and going on. And it's a small state. That's the beauty. We're an hour from one thing to the next.
But you do have to pack a bag if you're going across
to
state.
pack a bag for lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you have to do that. But I have the great opportunity to travel the state frequently with writers or tour operators that will come in and really showcase the state. So
Or TV studios.
I
right?
started off right.
Yeah.
I started off as a tour guide around the United States, Canada, and South America. That's why I started my. So I'm forever a tour guide in interest, but I do have a wonderful industry, and we have a great opportunity to learn and see and experience. And always, I'm finding something new all the time.
All right, let's take one more break and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay there. So that is our show for today. Mark, you want to give out the website one more time for
Sure.
people?
Visit RhodeIsland.com.
What's on the website?
Well, we have 1,100 pages, as I said, of all the different types of attractions that are in the state, but absolutely the events calendar. Cooking with the Chef, you can learn about the restaurants that are, who's hot and cooking these days in the state.
It's funny how it always comes back to food with
It
us,
comes
doesn't
back
it?
to food. I don't miss a meal. That's
And
for sure.
and you already said that you are plugged into social media too.
We
so-
are plugged into social media. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/visit Rhode Island.
All right.
And we hope that you come and visit our state.
And you can see this show and many others on our YouTube site too. And I'm sure that you'll take the video and probably put it on the website just for the promotional purposes of it. But thanks for being on the show, Mark.
Well,
again.
thank you so much, Sean. This was excellent.
All right, that is our show. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. We will see you next time. Take care.